So welcome back to another episode. Now, I do some episodes called New Game Stuff episodes, where I talk about new video games, comic books, or anime that I pick up. And those are pretty cool. I like doing those. But it's really strange. I was going through my closet today, and I have all these old totes of VHS tapes and memorabilia and toys and video game stuff from the 80s, and I'm like, oh my god, there's so much to talk about here. I should really be doing this. So I'm going to call this episode like old game stuff or old cool stuff, because there's so much neat things that I bought back in the 80s and 90s that are now in totes. They're kind of buried away like relics from the past, and I thought, let's bring them out and just talk about them, because there's a lot of cool stuff here. Now, when I was going through all the totes, I opened one up and I was like, oh my god, a NES Advantage. A NES Advantage, and I guess somebody had written on it. I'd gotten it really cheap a long time ago, but I guess, we try to rub that off, the name there. Why would anybody write their name on the damn controller? I guess if you live in a family, you have two kids in there, and you both have NES Advantages. But the thing is, I always wanted this controller as a kid, and I never had it because of the joystick, and I could play Nintendo games like it was an arcade experience. And years ago, I found this, and I was like, fuck, this is awesome. And it got buried in with all the totes up there. Pretty cool. I pulled out a box, and I got a small tear when I found these. In immaculate condition from 1988. The very, very, very first Japanese manga comic book that I ever read, that I ever collected. And I collected them all, and they're all here. These are my originals. Xenon. Has anybody ever heard of this? Or Xenon, or however you want to pronounce it. Has anybody ever heard of this series? It was for me, being in 1988 collecting Japanese anything was a strange thing. Everybody at school, even the nerdy kids, are like, what? What's that, Japanese animation? What the hell is that? Or, Japanese comics? It was a brand new concept to them. They had not heard of that. And I was the crazy guy that was finding this stuff. I watched Robotech, and I'd found out what the original names for those shows were. And then I just started doing all my research. And then at that time, this came out, and I was just so blown away. And the story was a very simple one, but it was the first for me, so it was very original. I'd never heard this kind of concept before, but this guy wakes up with amnesia, and he finds out that he was at this Bloody Sea corporation. They changed his body and made him into a robotic killer. He was a cyborg, and he has friends around him, and certain people were, in touch with this corporation as well, and they work for the corporation, and it's all the deception and lies of it, but it's a very, very simple story. Every issue is kind of the same thing, where he runs into another bad guy from Bloody Sea who's trying to recover him back to the corporation. He gets pissed off, he destroys them, and it's pretty much that. And even as a kid, I think I hit issue like 15, I'm like, man, they're rinsing and repeating this comic over and over and over again. But I mean, it was so inspirational to me to read a black and white comic book, Japanese black and white comic book that was finally translated. I felt I had hit gold with this, and it just blew me away. And oh man, when I saw Xenon, when I saw this, I was like, holy shit. It reminded me of my innocent youth getting into anime. It was really cool. Now, speaking of my innocent youth getting into anime, I found a lot of my old beta tapes. A lot of old beta tapes I got in 1988 as well. 88, 89, 1990 for animes. And this is just ridiculous. Like Megazone and Ixer 1 here, and Arion and Orgus episodes 1 and 2. Vampire Princess Mew. Dragon Ball OVA, Akira in English. Bubblegum Crisis, Gundam movie, Char's Counterattack. What was this? Bubblegum Crisis, Patlabor, Dirty Pair, Akira, Gal Force. Oh, here's this is like the first anime tape I ever received. And I think I got this in the summer of 1988 going into 89. There was a club in Victoria, a little small island away from us here. And they sent me this. I remember I went to my mailbox and I opened it up, and here, look at this little tape. I know, we didn't have a VHS player. My parents got sold into beta. But this guy was nice enough to tape these for me. Macross the movie, Macross Flashback, and a Dirty Pair TV episode. It didn't matter which one. I was happy to get any anime back then, and that is just so wild. It's so funny. And then what else have we got here? We got more Zeta Gundam and all that. So these are some of the animes I got. This, I had to show you this because it's funny. It relates to the tapes. This is how sometimes as collectors, and I won't say as collectors, but as enthusiasts of the hobby, how many copies of an anime that we will go through in our lifetimes of being a fan. So back in the day, it must have been maybe, it was 89, 90. Oh no, this would be 90, 91ish. I got Venus Wars. And look at this. This is ridiculous. On beta. Then I upgraded to another copy on VHS. And then I got the DVD. And then I got the remastered DVD. And then I finally got the Blu-ray. Isn't that funny that we do that? And it's because I originally saw it on beta and it was just awesome. And it made a huge impact on me. And I was like, oh my God, this is unbelievable. And then I had to, keep getting all the better versions of it. Because remember when DVD came out, it was like, oh, I have to get anime on DVD. And then, and then I'm an idiot. I get the goddamn DVD again because they're like, brand new remastered widescreen edition. I'm like, wasn't the other one widescreen? It's like, oh no, this must be the better version. It's remastered. And then you get to the Blu-ray. It's just so funny that we go through some of those rituals. I've done that with many movies, like Alien, and then then getting the Laserdisc and getting the VHS, getting the VHS to Laserdisc to DVD to Blu-ray. It never stops. And I think I'm finally done with. I'm at Blu-rays now. I'm done. I'm totally happy with that experience at home. I finally feel that it's optimal quality. I know 4K in the future, but I'm okay for now. I'm done. I'm not buying Venus Wars 4K or the 3D version in the year 2036. It ain't happening. Now I dug up this. This was sitting in the back, and it's a little beaten up, and that's not because I haven't taken care of it. I didn't take care of it as a kid. As a kid, I played with this. This is the Twin Pod Cloud Car from The Empire Strikes Back, and I got this at a birthday. It must have been 81, 82, somewhere in there. And we went to McDonald's and we sat in a caboose, which was like, part of a train. Back in the old days of McDonald's, they'd have a McDonald's, and sometimes they'd have a train, and you'd have birthday parties in the train. And I went to, actually, it was my birthday. That's right. It was my birthday, of course. And somebody gave me this, and there's a photograph of me receiving it. It's just so nostalgic, and this is the exact same one, like so many years ago. It's wild, and it's still, to be honest with you, it's still in not so bad condition. I had a lot of fun with this when I was a kid. I have a lot of fun with it now. Okay, a couple more things. Empire Strikes Back trading cards, but from bubblegum sets, and Raiders of the Lost Ark trading cards. Trading cards were a big deal in the 80s. I got a few more card sets that I gotta dig out of there. I should say, I'm gonna do a lot more of these episodes. I got so much stuff to show you guys. It's ridiculous. Now, I always say that I got into anime and it made a big impact on me, but how much did it make? It really inspired me. I was talking about Xenon earlier, how I'd study it and it just blew me away, and I was just so inspired by the artwork. I was so inspired that back then I used to do my own comic books. I was into Robotech, as I was saying. Look at this. I think this is a comic I did in 1987. Look at this. I did it all with felts. It's so nuts to see. Like I can't believe what I was able to do, because I love the anime cell style of everything, and I wanted to be able to replicate it. And I was in the totes, and I found these pages, and I was like, look at this stuff. This is just wild. It's just really, really wild. And I know you guys don't know it as well, but I was a huge comic book fan. Huge, like American comic book fan. And look at this. From The Dark Knight. I would buy the comic and I would study it and I would draw. I would copy the pages. This is what I would do. I'd copy the pages So this is right out of The Dark Knight back then by Frank Miller. I'd sit there and I'd draw the style. I just love comic books. I loved art so intensely. And oh, this one really tripped me out. I couldn't believe I had this. This is from 1988. And in 1988, my parents owned a little store, and across from the store was a comic book store called West Coast Comics. And I knew the owner quite well, and I used to do a lot of artwork for them for promotions and stuff like that, even though I was a little kid in, like grade 8. But I was pretty fun. I had pretty good at coloring, and this is what they would give me at times. They'd give me a black and white photocopy, and they'd ask me to color it, and they'd stick it up, and that's what I did. I colored that. I didn't draw it. I wasn't that good, for sure, but I still have one of the advertisements from when I used to work in this comic book store for Dr. Fate. That's pretty wild. That's pretty neat. So nuts. So crazy. I loved working at that comic book store. I'll save all the stories of that for another time. I could do probably a whole episode on that comic store. It's nuts. Oh, this was crazy. Look at this stuff. I found one of the old advertisements for Final Fantasy VII. The game, obviously. But this is... I would cut this out of video game magazines, and I stuck this on my walls, and you can still... Here's the tape on the top there, and I just kind of pulled it out, and I was like, this is really, really neat. This is really, really neat that I still have this after all this time. And yeah, as I say, you're getting a great idea of who I was growing up. And another really great thing is, look, I got this. Oh my God, 1981. This would be The Empire Strikes Back, the Marvel Special Edition. Look how huge this is. Look at how big this is. I'll show you guys. Like this is. And on the back it says, "May the Force be with you." That's Star Wars and The Empire Strikes Back changed my generation. It changed it for the better. And oh, here, that's your. I got my twin pod cloud car ready to go into that scene right there. That's great. Cloud City's going on. Yeah, this is my youth was spent. It was just a pure imagination fest. It really was, like many youths. But I was so influenced by Star Wars and Japanese culture, and it was just fantastic. And here I got a few other things. This, you're going to think I'm crazy, and maybe I am, but this is what it was like before the internet. This is so medieval and horrible. You're gonna go, this is insane. It's insane. I'd be watching Robotech, the brand new, first time you ever see them episodes on TV in 87. Like it was 85 to 87 for us, and some episodes I'd be watching and I just wanted like a screenshot of a cell scene, because I didn't have certain books, you know what I mean? I didn't have access to them online in any capacity, so I'd be watching a scene and I was like, I love the scene, and I grabbed my photography camera, and I take little photos of the television screen so I could have the anime screenshot of that moment. And that's a couple of Batteroids, if you want to call them that, a couple of Batteroids, Valkyries, like going up to one of the pods from the Zentradi. But isn't that ridiculous? I still have a few more Polaroids of Rick Hunter, from Robotech. It's just ridiculous. And yeah, just one more copy of Ixter 1 on VHS. I think these things back in the day would cost you a mint. I think they cost you like $40 for one volume on VHS. So anyways, guys, I just wanted to share some of the stuff I grew up with, some of the inspirations and some of the crazy stuff out of the back of my closet. And it's really neat to take some of this stuff out and to show you guys. And it's such a trip down memory lane for me. It really is. And I'm so happy to finally share this stuff. I've never shared it with anyone. So anyways, guys, until next time.